Hey guys, this is Patch, and I am here today with Glen Schleehauf of Workplay CrossFit, and we're going to talk about starting a gym. Hey Glen, how are you, buddy?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good, man. Good. Glad to have you down here finally. It's been a long time in the making.
Yes, yeah, I'm excited. Anything for Mobius.
Good, man. Hey, so I want to talk to you about how you got into the gym industry and started your own gym. So why don't you just kind of give me a little bit of the background?
Okay. Well, for starters, the first time I ever walked into a CrossFit gym was like a moment of clarity, and I was like, what on earth is this? I didn't know what it was, but it was like a moment of truth, and I knew that this was like what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And then sort of that was in Hawaii in 2009, so it was kind of an epiphany full week that I was in Hawaii. I mean, Hawaii, if you've ever been there, it's just like the most beautiful place in the world. I was trying all kinds of, exotic fruits and foods and the beaches, and I was there for my sister's wedding, and she took me to a CrossFit gym. We walked through the door, and it was like unlike anything you'd ever seen. And at the time on the East Coast, it really was like you hadn't even heard of it. There was very few places where you could do CrossFit at all. And so it was like very underground and sort of exclusive, this feel to it.
Yeah.
So I came home from that trip. I got to find a CrossFit gym. And I happened to find one. I think there was maybe 7 or 8 gyms at the time. I went to a gym. It was called CrossFit Newton. It still exists. They've moved around a few times. But and there I hooked up with a kid who was fresh off the boat from Ireland, John McAvoy, and the same thing. Like we were both kind of in that just ferocious enthusiasm for CrossFit. It was so new. We were in love with it. And pretty quickly he was like, I'm going to start my own gym. And I had already, with my brother-in-law, had already crafted that exact same plan. I'm going to start one too. He was a few months ahead of me, and he actually did go, and he was coaching at the gym in Newton. He left there to open his own place. And I was like, well, I'm just going to show up. Before he ever opened, I was like, I'm just going to show up there, every day and grab a paintbrush or help you hold up some drywall as he was like building out the gym. And I'm just going to watch everything you do as you get this thing off the ground, because I'm going to start and I was totally honest, like, I think I'm probably a year away, but I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to start a gym too. So I'm just kind of watch you go through the process and try and ride your coattails and learn from you and see how you do it. And it turned out, I mean, neither one of us had any clue what we were really doing. We just knew that we wanted to do CrossFit, and we would always joke, we just want to do thrusters and pull-ups, which are the two sort of most famous exercises in CrossFit, And I mean, it was, as far as a business plan, it was not good. We'd be going there to the gym to get some work done, and then the delivery guy would come with some new equipment, and we'd be like, let's work out, and we'd be unwrapping these barbells, like, let's do a workout, instead of doing what we were supposed to be getting done that day.
Now, did you have business experience before this with anything other than working for somebody else? Did you own a business before, or was this just first time?
Never owned a business, but looking back, you just sort of see that everything you've ever done sort of shaped your path. So I worked for a small independently owned bed and breakfast when I was 13 through 16. Then I worked alongside this guy at a small pizzeria. It was just like a mom and pop shop where literally I was standing next to the owner, and he was like teaching me. And so, and then I spent a lot of time in the restaurant business, waiting tables and just in the service industry. So just a lot of comparisons between the two, I found.
Yep. So you guys ended up going into this together eventually.
Yeah. Within a few months, I saw just how much work went into it, and the business things were going really well. So I said, hey, you know what? Let's pivot here. Instead of, I was going to open my own gym anyway. That's the plan. Why don't we just sort of become partners, and instead of having two sort of independent runs, you'll try and make this one twice as big.
Right.
And so I think he just, was grateful for the help, and at that point we'd been sort of acting as if we were partners already for several months. So that's what we did. We went in together. We grew the gym we had. It was a runaway success for 3 years, and then we sort of kind of outgrew the partnership, split up, sold it, and now he's not in CrossFit at all anymore. He's moved on to skydiving, base jumping. Yeah. And I came down and opened a new one from scratch.
So you started Workplay.
Yeah.
And was that pretty easy from the experience that you had before, or did you still have your struggles trying to get everything up and running, even if it was the second time that you opened a gym?
Yeah, I would say, ironically, the second time around, having the experience under your belt, it was much harder and more humbling of an experience than it was the first time. And I attribute that a lot to sort of the market. So when we opened the first gym, 2010, CrossFit was like fresh on the scene, and it was very, it was just like very...
It was on fire back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People, it was enigmatic. Like, people didn't know what it was, and it was sort of this like underground hardcore thing, and a lot of people were seeking it out in fitness.
Yeah.
And like I said, at the time I found CrossFit, there might have been 10 CrossFit gyms in Massachusetts. A few when I opened Workplay, I don't even know how many there are now, but hundreds.
Yeah.
At the time, we were the only show in town. You had to come from sort of far, and our gym was in Dedham. And as it went along, it was like all gyms started opening up in the surrounding towns, and we'd start having attrition. Like, members would be leaving, like, well, this gym's a lot closer to my house. And they just started popping up everywhere. So by the time I opened Workplay CrossFit in 2014, the CrossFit sort of, market saturation was quite a bit different. Yeah. So my expectations were sort of here, and like the first time our business exploded basically when we opened the doors. It went through the roof, and we were very young and sort of let that go to our heads. Like, we thought it was us. Like, we're the best. We're so good at this. So second time around, been a little more humbling, but slower growth, and it's been, more fulfilling in the end. Yeah. Because then I think we weren't really trading on our talent. Even though we thought we were. Right. But this time around, like, so much more than I did then.
So let's talk about purchasing, because that's a spot where a lot of people get into trouble, especially off the bat, is either purchasing too much equipment, not the right kind of equipment, getting the top of the line stuff, right out the gate. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but did you learn anything about that between purchasing gear from the first time around to the second time around?
Yeah, I would say I have a really high value on high quality. Mm-hmm. The first time we did it, and again, like the CrossFit scene was so much different. There was a lot of do-it-yourself happening, where people were building their own pull-up bars, like with 2x4s and plumbing pipes. And I remember buying a bunch of barbells at Sears, and a few months later, these barbells had like nuts on the end of them. People would be doing deadlifts, and the nuts would go flying across the room. Yeah. So we bought equipment on a small budget the first time around, and you end up having to, within a year or two, had to replace everything. So CrossFit is just inherently abusive to equipment. And now, I mean, the Rogue Fitness is, and I have no reason to say it, like, they're the best. That's the best company out there. They have the best quality equipment. Now there's a lot of it's a cottage industry as well. There's so many equipment companies and startups, but it's like durability, quality, will this sustain, not intentional abuse, but if you have 10 classes a day that are using the same barbell, I mean, that's a short lifespan. So it needs to be robust and built to last. So you really want to only buy stuff once if you can, and take really good care of it to like extend that life as long as you can. But still, you're going to be replacing stuff. That's just the nature of the business. Yeah. So when you, like, let's say you could only afford a couple of something. Let's say you can only afford 2 or 3 of whatever it was. I know you have row machines and other stuff. Those things are expensive. Did you
work it out into your WODs and into your programming to where maybe you had enough stations where 3 would be enough for you to get 20 people in a class, and still when it was their time that they were able to get to the equipment? Or did you just, whoever was first got the equipment? How'd you do it?
I'll always joke that the real reason I own a fitness business is because I have a compulsion addiction to buying fitness equipment. So my facility is really well equipped and has been since the beginning. I mean, I won't say that I started out like with everything I have now. So you had to prioritize certain things, but going into it, my highest priority was actually the flooring of the gym. Yeah. So when CrossFit first started, a lot of CrossFit gyms still will have these stall mats, which are like they're like 4 foot by 6 tiles of rubber, and you have to sort of piece them together like a puzzle, and they're really a nightmare to clean, and they sort of shift around like tectonic plates, and and visually it doesn't look that good. So we did that the first time. Then we made a major renovation to the gym where we installed rolled rubber, and it's like just like this wall-to-wall carpet, but of rubber. Yeah. And I think that more than any other investment sort of sets your facility apart. From now, it starts to look like a commercial gym and like a fitness center instead of like a dirty garage gym, which was kind of what everyone was getting away with in the beginning. And I feel like that's really changed. As the more CrossFit grows, the more like professional it needs to be. And look, so the flooring is the most expensive thing in the gym. I mean, it's 3,000 square feet of this like dense rolled rubber floor. I think my flooring cost close to $20,000. So going into it, that's the single biggest investment, and it's like not sexy, like you don't think of it, but that, I mean, really puts the whole space together.
And well, you said something else which I know you're a stickler on, but you kind of just put it in there for a second about cleanliness. One of the things that you have done really well is keep your gym clean, which people take for granted, or well, I don't think they put enough emphasis on. If you want people to come to your gym, it has to be clean. Like, it has to be clean.
Yeah, this is and I think that the industry is catching up to it, but again, in the beginning, that was almost the aura of CrossFit, was that it was so the other thing. Right. CrossFit was defining itself against like a classical gym setting with Nautilus machines and mirrors and air conditioning, and it was saying like, we are not that. This is all about grit and grime and grunginess and like loud music and slamming barbells, and a part of that was like that the environment was dirty. But like that, I don't know, that sort of wears off really quickly. And now that CrossFit is so much like changing the whole fitness industry, and all these CrossFit gym owners that you talk to, they're marketing to like regular people, like soccer moms and 50-year-old corporate guys who like want to lose their beer belly and get in shape and like be healthy in the long term. And so like having like dirt, blood, sweat, and tears on the ground, and like dirt and chalk, like that is gone the way of like the phones before you had an iPhone. Phone. Yeah, like that's gone the way of the flip phone.
So, but I mean, I remember when CrossFit came out and really hit mainstream. All of the posters, all of the flyers, all of the mailers, all of the like every single thing that you got about CrossFit, they always had like the throwback to like Rocky Balboa, where he was like in the barn, pulling chains and doing, pull-ups on the big I-beams and all that kind of stuff. Everybody wanted that back then. It was all like, how could you kill yourself the most with the most raw material? It was like, I remember they even had that one. Do you remember the one where it was like the dudes running back and forth with the rocks, like the World's Strongest Man competition, where they had the big Atlas balls,
absolutely.
And it was like, how can we make it as dirty as possible to get away from, the corporate gym? And now, as more and more people pick it up, CrossFit has had to really change its image and really had to change, what the features were in the gym to be able to handle the masses. Because at the end of the day, if you have dirty bathrooms, girls will not stay at your gym.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, if you have, it's cool. I like some of the best gyms I've ever been to. They have separated their spaces, right? So if it's going to be, it's almost like a guy's weight room, and then there's a girl's weight room, and then there's like maybe an open gym. But you've been able to pull it off in one big open space. So how do you do that? How have you learned to be able to manage that for so many different types of people in your gym?
Well, I mean, that's like a whole other can of worms. Like what CrossFit has done for women is amazing. And it's because if you come into my gym, you better watch out, because the girls there are, they'll eat your heart out, right?
Right.
And so that's, I mean, there's a big thing, like a huge saying in CrossFit, like you got to leave your ego at the door. And if you walk into the gym, it doesn't matter, guy or girl, if they've been training in that style of like high intensity fitness for a year or 2 years, and you've been sitting on the couch eating potato chips the last couple of years, like,
or even been in a conventional gym.
Yeah, no matter what you've been doing, if you haven't been training like CrossFit intensity, there's going to be a major adjustment period when you come in. And part of that is going to be looking around and recognizing that people that you would like be judgmental about are beating you, lifting more weights than you, going faster than you, not bent over, sucking wind the way you are. And you just have to be like, oh wow. I mean, it's a wake-up call. And I think it's an important part of it but a lot of people, they get a taste of that and they don't want any more, of that humble pie.
So you got the doors open, you got some good equipment in there, and then you've got to do a ton of other things that, again, people just kind of forget about. There's a lot of systems and processes you got to put in place. There's a lot of, how do I get members to come in on a consistent basis?
Yep.
And there's, what happens when somebody walks in the door? How do I actually get those people to sign up? And then how do I get them to stay? Then you've got long-term member attrition. So how did you start, did you take the systematic approach where you just kind of just accomplish one thing at a time, or did you kind of have to hit everything all at once?
In the beginning, I mean, it was just me. I opened this gym all by myself, so I had to do everything. Yeah. And the first year, there was some long days. I would start at 5 a.m. and I wouldn't leave the gym until 9 p.m. And I was coaching all the classes, doing all the cleaning, trying to do marketing, but really that was never a strong suit of mine. But all I did was just write blog posts and try and spread them, through social media. Yeah. A sign out front. I did early on, did some stuff like some guerrilla advertising where I'd go out on the street and do some workouts like as close to the street as I could and try and get, people honking their horns and stuff like that. So just trying to attract attention that we're here in town any way that you can. But the hardest part is so you have to have social proof, I think. So in the beginning, it was like maybe 6 months in, when people that started out, the first sort of group of people, they started getting results. I mean, that's the real, having clients who say, this is where I train, and having people see them like, whoa, what happened to you? What have you been doing? So that's the hardest thing to establish when you're opening your doors. You don't have any social proof because there haven't been any clients. So that's probably the hardest thing for a new business, I'd say.
So one of the first, you probably don't even know this, one of the first things that I ever saw about you, I hadn't met you in person yet, but was like a 7-second clip on Facebook of you sitting beside the road rowing.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, this guy's crazy. He's crazy. But you actually got a kind of a local following of people that every single day would go either be on their way to work or wherever. And then I heard you say it one more time is, I can't remember what you said, but it was, you had a name for that when you worked out by the road. I can't remember what it was. You said you were going to go do something And I was like, what the hell's that? You're like, I'm going to go out and work.
I must have called it guerrilla marketing.
Something. I can't remember what it was, but.
That's cool. Like that even, to me, that makes it like, because it's embarrassing, right?
Yeah.
You're like, okay. But you believe in this so much. You want, because the same thing is like, people will tell me that. There was another video, but similar. I always forget on Facebook that like people aren't always interacting with it, but they'll still see it.
Yeah.
And then so maybe 30 people commented and said or liked it or said that was cool, but how many more people saw it and actually remember it? Because you're just scrolling through this feed. Like for me to do something that you remember, because you're scrolling through that all the time. It's like you have to do something kind of outlandish to stand out, right? And in the moment, like it's the last thing you ever want to do is like pull this rowing machine out to the side of the road, like literally as close to traffic as I can get. And it would be rowing, and I would like every car that would go by get the weirdest looks, but I'd try and say like smile and like say something positive and be like, you could be my next member, you know. Hey, how you doing? And if someone ever came in and said join the gym, and you know you develop these relationships with people, if that's the reason why, like I'll be out there again tomorrow, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely unique, and people remember that kind of stuff. I mean, power of social media, man. Power of social media. So, okay, so kind of talk to me about when you were building enough. So now you have the equipment, you got the layout of the gym. I know you changed that a couple times too. You changed the layout of the gym. But now let's say you have classes that are working. You're the only instructor there. When did you start bringing on people?
So I had a guy, one part-time coach pretty early on, and I think he coached 2 evenings a week. So the gym was open 6 days a week. 3 or 4 of those days I was there from, like I said, 5 a.m. until like 9 p.m. And I think he picked up 2 hours a week. My daughter was like a newborn baby at the time, so I got to spend at least those 2 nights with her. And then in the August, I brought on Robo. He kind of came in as a full-time. That was like a real game changer. So it took, I would say, about 9 months before I was able to bring on an employee that I was like paying him, and that was like significant help. I mean, he really like cut my hours in half, and that was huge, just for my my personal life and being a dad. The other thing that I forgot to say earlier, I forgot all about the showers, but you just reminded me of it at the beginning. Same thing. It used to be a garage gym. Now if you're trying to run a professional facility, charge a lot of money, you got to have showers, like a shower facility. And that was something that almost didn't happen between me and the landlord and the town. There was something with like the amount of water usage that was allowed and whether we were going to get the permits and approval and all this kind of like red tape stuff with the town hall. And that stuff, even though all you want to do is get in there and like help people lose weight, get in shape, do pull-ups, do push-ups, like thrusters and pull-ups, like we said, like you just want to do CrossFit, but you got to do all that's like dot your I's and cross your T's with getting the permits, getting the licenses, getting all that type of stuff done. And that's like the hardest part for most, because it's not the business that you're planning to do. And so that was huge because they were saying, well, why don't you just run the business for a year and then maybe we'll put some showers in later. And I was like, no, this is a huge, big deal. So we fought tooth and nail. Somehow it got done. But that was huge.
Yeah, so...
because that's flat out a reason people will walk out your door. They say, I need to go to the gym, hit the shower, then go to work.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of something else. So of the things that you've tried to do in CrossFit, whether, your first gym, your second gym, of the things that you've tried to accomplish, how many of them went exactly like you laid it out when you had the bright idea to do whatever you were trying to do?
Not many, like it is. That's anything, that's life. You think it's going to take 4 hours, it takes 3 days, You think it'll be easy and it's really hard. And then, certain other things do fall in your lap and you catch breaks in other ways, but anything you think is going to be easy is probably not going to be.
Yeah. So we it's kind of been this ongoing theme. I think we said it in like 3 podcasts already, but it's almost like the guys that just don't have a plan B, they end up making this work. And the guys that do have a plan B, somehow CrossFit, it never finds their way. They never find their success in CrossFit as a gym owner. It's like, if you have no plan B, you'll figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. That's I mean, like I have a hard time, I guess, defining success.
Yeah.
For me, and I'm always like, I just guess never satisfied to a point where I have to stop and be like, find gratitude and appreciate like the lifestyle that I have. But then at the other, 1 second later, I'm like, we have to do this. We have to make sure. So we're always doing projects, looking for ways to improve the gym, buying new equipment, trying to figure out where I'm going to fit it all, like that type of stuff. So it's a never ending process.
Okay. So you got people working for you.
Yeah.
The gym's running. And you've been very successful. I mean, you have tons of people that attribute, either major weight loss or lifestyle changes or nutrition changes, like big things. You have a lot of people that really, sing workplace praises. So, what's next? I mean, what are you trying to do? And are you trying to, what's next on the agenda for you?
Well, it's funny because this is the 4th year that the business has been open. We're, more than halfway through our 4th year, and I've been doing this. I've owned a CrossFit gym for 7 years, but now this year, like heading into this fall, my plan is to like get more organized, more structure, more systems of like the back end stuff. So now that I have this staff, and the staff is growing as we speak, we just have 3 new coaches coming on this summer. One of my full-time guys is on vacation this week. And so we have some new coaches getting an opportunity, which is really exciting. So I'm going to start working on developing them and, like taking everything that's in my head that I sort of do intuitively and trying to put it in manuals and teach it to them and so that basically what I want is when I'm not there, everyone else is like not even knowing what decisions that I would make, but I want them to just like thinking in the same way. Yeah. So noticing the things that I noticed, doing, and so that's the plan this year, is to like, for me to sort of step away from the day-to-day business and try and develop the talent below me, which is, I mean, they're better than I am. Yeah. So
let me ask you a question. If you had all of those systems and processes year 1, do you think you would be further along than you are now? Or do you think, are you, and I'm not going to use the word victim of circumstance, but do you think it was because of your circumstance where you were doing everything all at once and truly didn't have enough hours in a day to create those back in year 1? Looking back on it, do you think that if you had them in year 1, you'd be further along than where you are now? Not. We're not talking about success-wise. We're just talking about, do you think you'd be further along to your aspirations?
I mean, maybe, but there's always I know you guys are big fans of like Gary Vee, and there's a lot of stuff in business and entrepreneurship. Like you just have to take risks and you have to like go for it and you have to do it and start. So I meet people in fitness that way too. They'll come in like, I'm thinking about joining the gym, but I'm going on a vacation next month, and then my kid has soccer starting up, and they start thinking about all the things that are coming their way. That's like almost like excuses. So sometimes like you could sit in a room and draw out a business plan. You could spend 3 years doing that, or you could go start the business and kind of like figure it out on the fly. So that's been my method. And same, like you can get paralyzed by thinking about all the things that you're going to need to do. And sometimes like not ignorance is bliss, and you got to just get yourself into it, into a little bit of a mess, and then go, all right.
No, and I completely appreciate both methodologies, right? So there's the idea that you have to have everything perfect before you can launch. And then there's the other way where you can basically go off of beta versions, right? So you launch whatever you have, and then you just keep it in beta until you have it, completely, perfect, whatever that is. So I mean, I enjoy that spirit about you. I mean, let's wing it. Let's make it happen. Right? So I can completely appreciate that. All right. Well, thanks so much. Before you go, we've got some rapid fire questions for you, and you got to answer these quickly.
That was fast. I could do this all day. It's the microphone.
That's like a $10,000 microphone. All right.
I'm honored.
So, all right, you ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Outgoing, introverted, and dad.
What is the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
Joint rotations.
Biggest regret this far in life and why?
Damn, Patch. My biggest regret in life?
Yeah.
I have none.
What is the secret to being happy?
Exercise every day.
I'm going to get you on this one. What is success to you?
Success is not letting anyone dictate what you do to be happy.
Good for you. What makes you smile?
My daughter.
If you lost everything tomorrow, who would you turn to first?
It's all on me. If I lost everything tomorrow, I'm 100% responsible, and that would be me, myself, and I to pick the pieces back up, start over.
If you knew that no one was judging you, what would you do differently?
I would play more. Play more. Yeah, more childlike stuff.
Who or what have you given up on?
I've given up on having unrealistic expectations for other people, or waiting for something to happen. Yeah, you got to make it happen.
All right, and lastly, how many cans of Monster did you think it would take to give you the energy to make $1 million?
Well, that would take a lot of Monster energy. Cut that out, Maddie. I don't condone Monster.
All right,
You're
guys.
a monster.
Thank you so much. I'm here with Workplay CrossFit and Glen Schleehauf, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Those rapid fire questions are intense, dude.
Hey, thanks so much for checking out this episode of our podcast. If you guys like the content that you just saw, would you do us a favor and go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below? It really helps us know that we're making the right kind of content that you guys want to watch and listen to. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you check out the description box below, we have all of our social media links. Make sure to follow us on Facebook. We post a lot of our behind the scenes stuff and advertisements for podcasts that are coming up. So once again, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you in the next one.